will be the episode no one ever hears.
It's true.
We'll just skip it.
It's probably for the best. Welcome to Stargatesing, a Stargate gazing podcast. I'm your host, Mary.
And I'm your other host, Kathy.
And each week we review an episode of Stargate alternating between SG-1 and Atlantis. Hello.
Hello.
How's it going?
It's going all right. How about you?
Okay.
Okay. All
I'm
right.
tired.
Me too.
It feels like it's been a long day, even though I didn't really do much of anything today, but then I did meet with a student right before this, and we had both had technical difficulties, got started a half an hour late, and then it ran long, and that's why I'm late for recording. So it just feels like it was a lot today, even though it really wasn't.
Boo. Boo.
Indeed. How was your day?
It also felt long, but I also was at work all day, so not that I did a lot, but I was there.
Your day really was long.
Yeah. Not that exciting, though.
No. Any word on doggies that you want to share with me or our listeners?
Not yet.
What I will call Puppy Watch 2025.
I had put in some applications for dogs and am mostly just waiting.
The worst.
I know. The one that you actually talked to, again, thank you for speaking to strangers
Of course.
about me. I appreciate that. I do understand that is a lot of effort.
I hate talking to strangers on the phone, and I had to call them back.
Ugh.
Calling
So
people's
bad.
The worst.
So they're the ones who have the cute dog that I showed you that is
That looks
in
like my dog.
Connecticut that looks like your dog. Yeah. They emailed me this morning asking if I happen to have any vet records hanging around. And I was like, nope, I did a document purge like a year ago and I have nothing left. So we're in a holding pattern because my vet is on vacation this week.
Can I call them back and be like, let me tell you about all the shit that Kathy had to do for her cats at her vet that she did, even though it cost a ton of money because she was a good pet parent to them.
Sadly, I don't think they'll take it because they didn't want my constant email correspondence with the director of care management there either. So.
How about your credit card bills?
I know. I'm definitely not still paying those.
The worst.
Yeah.
That sucks.
But yeah. And then for everyone else, I had also found a cute dog that I applied for and like within less than a day, they were like, here, have a dog. And I was like, whoa, hold on. They were going to ship the dog up from the south, which is fine, except for that, I don't know, it's my first dog, and I thought maybe I should meet a dog first before I just take a dog.
Yeah, probably a good idea. I mean, it's always worked out for us okay otherwise, but Coconut was a rough adjustment, although we actually had several meetings in person first, and we were still hoping for the best. But we had several other dogs that we did not meet first before taking them home, and it thankfully worked out okay in the end, but I know that that's not always the case.
Yeah, you all have had dogs before, so...
True.
The last dog that I have had, I was so young my father was alive, and it was a puppy, and none of us were prepared to deal with a puppy, so we did not have the dog for very long before it went back.
Oh, I didn't even realize that's what happened to Purple.
Yes.
I did mention to the lady that you had a dog when you were very young, but that you had not had one as an adult.
I had not put that anywhere because I was like, that barely counts.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I'm like, she had one when she was a kid, but she was really young, and she hasn't had one as an adult. But my dogs love her, so.
Aw. I love your dogs.
Yeah. And she's like, does she seem to like your dogs? I was like, of course she loves my dogs. That's why they love her.
You didn't tell them how I'm always trying to steal them, right?
I didn't, actually. I probably should have mentioned that.
Everyone loves a dog thief.
Yeah, absolutely. If you don't give her this dog, she's just going to go steal one, probably one of mine. So please give her this dog because I love mine and I don't want them stolen.
Yeah. It's what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, Purple did not last long in our house because we were a family full of cat people and were not prepared for a puppy.
Fair.
And apparently the adults in the house didn't want to take care of one, so.
Yeah. But puppies are great.
I mean, all I remember about that dog was it tugging on my t-shirt. So based on that, I did not enjoy that dog, but I was also like 5 or something.
Fair.
So, yeah.
I got nothing. I was trying to figure out how to segue between dogs and pets into this episode.
I was thinking about rehoming Michael. I don't know.
Michael kind of rehomed himself.
He did rehome himself.
Although they tried to rehome him with them, I guess.
You're never gonna let that go, are you?
Yeah.
But then it didn't work out, and they should have met in advance. Yeah, it was a failed adoption. Yeah, there we go. You know who else ended up with a failed adoption?
Who's that?
The people of Atlantis and Michael?
Yeah.
There we go. Teamwork, we got there.
Failed adoption.
What is this episode that we were talking about regarding Michael's failed adoption?
This is Stargate Atlantis, Season 2, Episode 20, final episode of this season. Much like it was just the final episode of SG-1.
Indeed.
Allies.
I've never had an adoption failure, but I have had a foster failure, as evidenced by the dog that we still have 12 years later, which is Minnie. But she's just so cute and great.
She is.
Our one attempt at a foster dog. Did not work. Because we kept her forever.
Yeah.
This episode starts with a recap. Trip Tucker, a.k.a. Michael, doesn't remember who he is, but everyone else knows something he doesn't. Oops, he's a secret wraith, and then a not-so-secret wraith, and then he's pissed, and now the rest of the wraith know that Atlantis is still around, but at least they've got a brand new, old, ancient ship.
Yay.
And recap.
Yeah. Nice. We start in the Atlantis control room where everyone's watching a counter. I don't know if everyone's watching it, but there's a countdown clock. Countdown to Wraith time is what it is.
Not a kitchen counter.
No. One with a time
countertop
on it.
Yes.
They've been making some preparations for the arrival of their new friends, old friends, enemies. Who knows what will happen? We'll find out soon. This is silly. Anyway.
It is. I like it.
Taylor comes in to report that the Athosians have all been moved into the city in preparation for this upcoming event.
Do you think that they get sick of constantly having to flee into the city and abandon their crops that probably are getting destroyed out in the field with no one caring for them?
Probably. But I guess if they were really sick of it, they could try finding a new planet. But I guess they still decide this is the better trade-off.
Yeah, fair point.
They're talking about what's going on with their plans. They still just have the one hive ship that they've been tracking. They've got their cloak up and running so they can try to hide just in case on the off chance that hive ship doesn't know they're there. Colonel Caldwell is around. Weir radios to him on the Daedalus to figure out if he's ready, and he says yes they are, and they're outside scanning range but ready to jump in at a moment's notice. He doesn't like this plan. He thinks he should be in orbit around Atlantis to fight with the Wraith ship the second it comes out of hyperspace, but Weir thinks that's not a good idea, and she's still in command, so he's just gonna go suck it up.
I've been getting my ass chewed.
Then she radios to Shepard, who is on their newly borrowed ship, the Orion, that they got from the volcano people. That's what I'm going to call them.
Yeah, that works.
Yeah.
Is it borrowed? I guess it's technically borrowed. But they don't know how to use it anyway. So.
Yeah, those folks are never getting this ship back.
Yeah, they're really not. It's borrowed in quotes.
Yes. Much like the Russian gate is borrowed by the
exactly.
US. Right. Shepard says that they are also out of sensor range, but they are not ready to fight yet, maybe. He's not 100% sure. Rodney is with him, still working out the kinks of this ship. He's being pretty Rodney about it. He's like, getting the ship up and running in under a month is a miracle. Look at me, I'm Rodney, I did it, okay? What else do you want from me? But they want a lot of things.
In my current endeavor to learn more fiddle tunes, I found one called Rodney's Glory that I need to learn, and every time I play it, I will just be thinking of Rodney McKay.
Ooh, yes, please. I hope it's about how he made this ship work.
I will assume it is. Fiddle tunes do not have lyrics, but I will assume that that's what they wrote it about.
They don't have to not have lyrics.
That's
we
true,
can make
but
that
would make
happen.
a song, Kathy.
Yes, fair enough. Weir and Shepard want Orion's drones going. They want the hyperdrive running. They want the shields up and all of this stuff. Rodney then goes through his list. He's like, yes, they've got shields. They can probably jump into position. Maybe release the drones. Not there yet. So he's still working on that. As hard and as quickly as he can. Then one of the guys in the control room lets Weir know they have contact. The wraith ship has arrived. He reports it's going into geosynchronous orbit and has not armed weapons. Weir tells him to immediately switch from cloak to shield if the wraith arm their weapons. Don't even wait for her order. Then the wraiths speak. They say they know that the Atlanteus people are there and that they mean them no harm. So please respond. They tell Dr. Weir there's no point in hiding. We know you're there. We promise not to hurt you. Talk to us.
What could go wrong?
Nothing could go wrong, especially because
They have candy.
They have candy.
And free puppies.
Yes, and by the voice, they can tell it's Michael. Or by the fact that he addresses her by name.
Yeah.
Sorry to spoil your surprise.
And then credits. They might have candy. That would probably get me to trust them too.
I would if they had candy.
Yep. Get into our wraith van.
Yes. Very different type of van. Not necessarily any better.
No.
After credits, everyone is arguing about what to do about that. Team Shart is there, and Weir and Caldwell is there too. Although he's actually just radioing in. He's not actually there. Caldwell's asking her, you don't intend to actually respond, right? And she's not really sure why she shouldn't, but I think it is a million obvious reasons why she shouldn't. She thinks that their cover's blown anyway, so why not answer? They go back and forth about this as though it wouldn't be knowable where Atlantis is unless they answer, but the Wraith knew where Atlantis was before. It hasn't moved.
Can it not float around in the ocean? Maybe it's in a different part of the ocean.
I mean, I'm sure they would be able to figure out the planet and then use sensors. I was really confused about why they kept going back and forth as though it was completely impossible for the Wraith to know where Atlantis was unless they answered. It was really weird. So the long story short of this relatively lengthy scene is that they're going to try to talk to them, but they're also going to do like some signal jamming to try to make it less obvious where they're calling in from, I guess.
Radar about to be jammed.
So they're going to make a secure channel.
Yeah.
And so, of course, a little while later, Zelenka has got that running. He's got a laptop for Dr. Weir to use. And they open a channel, and she says hello to Michael. He wants to know what the delay was for, but of course, she says they just needed to take a few precautions. But the Wraith had mentioned in the outgoing message that they weren't there to harm them. So Michael is insulted that they didn't necessarily believe that. He goes on to say that over 2 years ago, every hive ship in the galaxy emerged from hibernation prematurely. He does not mention the fact that it was the people of Atlantis that were responsible for that. I found to be interesting.
Yeah.
So was this just kind of like a little underhanded dig at them for that? Or does he not actually know that that's what happened?
Not sure.
Yeah. So anyway, as a result of too many Wraith waking up at the wrong time, now there's a big civil war because there's not enough food for all of the Wraith that are suddenly awake and need to be eating. There are different hives forming alliances, and the strong are attacking the weak, cats and dogs living together. It's just anarchy out there. And Dr. Weir wants to know which one Michael is. Is he the cat or the dog? Or really more specifically, as she words it, is he the strong or the weak? But Michael assures her that their goals are not dissimilar. What he would like is Dr. Beckett's retrovirus, because if they were able to convert a whole bunch of Wraith into humans, then they would have a nice food source and they could leave all the other humans alone. So that benefits everybody, right? You won't have to worry about us attacking random planets, and you'll have less Wraith to worry about ultimately anyway, because we'll eat half of them.
Great.
Yeah. But Dr. Weir does point out the fact that the Wraith would become humans and then they're still technically eating humans. But whatever, that's just on the surface, Michael says. And as a sign of good faith that he's serious about this whole thing, he's going to send them jamming signals that are going to help them to beam a nuclear weapon on board a hive ship anytime that they would like to. So that sounds like a pretty good deal. Chuck Nishan says that they are receiving a data burst, and they do go ahead and download it on a firewalled computer, Dr. Weir specifies. Michael suggests that they recall all the ships they have lying in wait for him and discuss what they're going to do, and he will wait for their reply.
Yeah. Sounds like a good plan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Kathy, did you know this is not Connor Trenier?
I did know because I was looking at one, he kind of looked off, but
He
then
did
I was
look off, and that's when I looked it up.
The IMDb list earlier. It is his voice, though.
Right, and I thought that was weird because his voice is so heavily disguised that I didn't actually suspect him based on his appearance. When I was like, I don't think this is him. I suspected him based on the voice, and it turned out it was actually Connor Trenier's voice. But yeah, the actual actor was not him.
So strange.
It was very weird. His voice is so disguised, why bother using Connor Trenier for it? I thought that was weird. I mean, I love Connor Trenier, so I'm not complaining, but I just thought it was strange because it's not like it sounded like Connor Trenier anyway.
I wonder if they made any changes to this episode based on him not being available, because Michael's in it, but he's not really in it that much.
Yeah, it's possible.
So I was like, why bring him back at all? Well, not why, because obviously he's the whole reason that they, want a wraith retrovirus, but...
I suppose it's possible that they didn't use his voice initially, and maybe something about the actor's voice just sounded way too off, so maybe they dubbed him in later. I don't know.
Maybe. Yeah, so that's fun.
Yeah, but it was weird. I wonder if that's the case in later episodes, or if it's just this one.
From what I was reading, it was just this one episode. He happened to not be available.
Gotcha.
And in subsequent ones, he's back.
I didn't bother to check ahead. I saw that he was credited in 10 different episodes, but I did not see if it was just as a voice actor or as like a full body actor.
No, he'll be back.
I don't want to say actual actor. I know voice actors are also real actors. That's not what I meant.
Yeah.
Sorry if any voice actors out there were insulted. That's definitely not what I meant.
She's lying. She hates voice actors.
Kathy's stupid.
She's like, they're just glorified podcasters.
Yeah, that's exactly what I say all the time. I'm always complaining about it.
It's true. All of it.
She's been saying it since we were kids, which is kind of weird because podcasts weren't really a thing. So.
I know, but I knew that they would be.
It's her longest running vendetta against anyone is voice actors.
I have not used my ability to see the future for anything useful whatsoever. But that is a thing I've been saying since we were kids.
Yeah. Oh, Mary, let it go. Let it go.
No. I won't.
Anyway, everyone gathers to discuss Michael's proposal. They're in the conference room. They do make it clear they've kept the Orion hidden, so the Wraith still don't know about that little ace in the hole, which will later probably come up. Not this season, but, later.
Eventually.
Yeah. Rodney is super excited about the data they've received, and he thinks it's pretty likely that they'll be able to crack this program and send nukes over to hive ships whenever they want. Rodney calls this an amazing opportunity. Amazing. Shepard's on board with it, too. He's like, this was our idea. We were gonna turn all the Wraith into humans anyway, so what's the downside?
What could possibly go wrong?
Except for that we have to work with the Wraith, and Caldwell's like, that's pretty bad though, right? Beckett says it means something good could come out of their experiment with Michael, which, no, nothing good could come out of that.
No.
You've already done the war crimes. Just live with it.
Yep.
Or not.
Admit your mistakes, move on. Try to make amends as best you can, but...
Exactly.
In this case, that's probably not going to happen.
Taylor says she doesn't think they have much of a choice because otherwise the Wraith will tell all the other Wraith about them. So it seems like everyone's lining up behind this is a good idea, let's do it. Weir asks for Ronan's opinion, and even he's on board because he's happy with Wraith killing other Wraith. So they're going to do it. That was the whole conversation. Just all of them in different ways saying, I guess we're going to do this thing. Ally with the Wraith. Do more war crimes. It'll be great. Yeah.
Out in the hall, Shepard and Taylor have a chat. He seems a bit miffed that Taylor doesn't seem to think it's a good idea. And of course she doesn't think it's a good idea. She's Taylor and she has morals, but she's already shown us that she's going to go along with the team as long as she believes that the team is at least attempting to act in everyone's best interest. So she says that she does not like the plan, but she does trust Shepard and everybody else. So she's going to go along with it anyway, even though she is not convinced that it's a good idea. She doesn't think that it is the full extent of her plan, she implies here, and it is understandable, but Shepard's like, nah, it's fine. I'm sure it's fine. But she reminds him that they are wraith, and then she walks away.
Yeah.
Yep. Out in space, Atlantis has sent an escort out to meet the wraith ship and guide them closer to their super secret location, which is just it's so weird to me. They've got sensors.
Yeah.
And also, your position was known not that long ago, but whatever. They need to be guided in by this pilot from Atlantis. Okay. So there's a bunch of people watching from the control room. Shepard is there talking to Weir. Didn't think this was going to happen when they woke up this morning, but good, I guess. At least they're not being blown up and eaten right now. So it's looking up a little bit, I guess.
Yeah. After they land, the wraith are escorted to see Dr. Weir. It's not too many wraith. It looks like maybe 2. We can see one is clearly Michael.
We started with a close-up of somebody's feet while they're walking, and they were wearing awesome kick-ass high-heeled shoes. And I was thrilled when I thought that it was Michael wearing them, and then I was disappointed when it was just some random chick that I don't think we've seen before.
No, just another wraith queen or whatever.
Yeah. I was like, they put him in some great shoes. That's amazing. They gave him those heels and that he's rocking that.
That would be really
fine
cool.
In them, and I thought it was great, and then I was disappointed.
Yeah. Her coloring was very human.
Why, the very name is racist.
They gave everyone a bit of a jaundice look in this episode. I thought and she did look a little bit more human too, but Michael, they made like outright yellow. Yellow orange, which is weird. Because generally when we've seen them, they've been kind of gray, right?
Yeah, or greenish.
Yeah, like, gray or bluish gray or green. Yeah, but not just
not this
yellow or kind of orange like this lady would. I thought that she was supposed to be a hybrid or something, but then they never mentioned that. So I'm like, oh, I guess I'm wrong. But
it's very, very strange.
It was weird. They did go very yellow-orange on the coloring for the makeup this time.
Yeah. They gather in Weir's office to have a talk about the situation.
Gym, tan, and laundry?
Weir offers that they will work with a wraith scientist, but there can only be 3 wraith at most on the base at all times. Shepard adds that they're going to be subject to random extensive searches anytime they feel like. And if they find any weapons, we're going to kill you. Your whole ship.
Yep.
And all of their transmissions are being monitored. This lady is not fussed about any of this. She's like, we want a retrovirus. Do what you want. Let's do this.
And then we're in the lab. This scene was amusing to me. Beckett and Zelenka are there talking to a wraith, some other wraith, not Michael and not the queen person before. And they're doing some sciencing here. Dr. Beckett wants to know what to call them, and it's very clear that Beckett and Zelenka are both very nervous, and they're very chatty and trying to stay very upbeat and laughing nervously. It was just a very silly scene. Ultimately, Beckett's like, I guess, because the wraith don't give him a name, so he says, I guess it doesn't really matter then. There's actually a couple wraith in there. Anyway, though, he was just trying to give them a bit of information about how they're trying to spread the virus, putting it into some kind of canister so that it can be aerosolized on the ship. Might work a bit better than something like an injection or what they were doing with Michael, because then they don't have to worry about proximity to the patient. But they will have to worry about things like particle size and ventilation patterns and architecture. So it's tricky. But aerosolizing it will allow them to spread the virus to way more people than it would spread to if they were just injecting it into them. The tricky part, though, is even if they've got the aerosolization process down, they still need to get it onto the ship and get it to spread through the air. They've tried using some explosives to get it into the air and to spread, but apparently that has resulted in them vaporizing and igniting a lot of the medication, so that seems pretty bad. Beckett says they call it flashing as he opens his lab coat, which was very silly. He was wearing a shirt under it, and pants, for that matter.
He wasn't flashing for reals.
No, but it was still amusing. They also talked about the fact that it's hard to get it into the ship from the outside because the Wraith mentioned that when they tried to pierce holes to get something into an enemy vessel, it's caused explosive decompression in the target compartment. So basically shooting the virus in through the hull isn't going to work either. But Beckett is convinced that aerosolizing is the best way to go, but they're just going to have to find a different way to get it onto the ship than shooting the ship with it.
Yeah, this is good.
Seems like more of a Wraith problem to me, though, than an Atlantis problem.
I know. And yet the Wraith just want them to solve all their problems.
They do, yeah. And that's that scene.
It was very amusing.
It was silly.
The Wraith was so, like, unflappable, unimpressed, just not giving them anything. And
Yep.
just so nervous.
It was silly.
It was so good. Rodney has gone to the Daedalus and is working with Hermiad. Rodney's pretty excited about all of the things he's learning from this new technology that he's been given by the Wraith.
This new learning amazes me, Sir Bedivere.
As excited as Hermiad gets. Oh,
Yeah,
Rodney is excited.
yeah.
Sorry, I spaced a second.
No, you're good. Hermiad is not giving Rodney anything to work with either.
No.
Rodney's like, come on, you've got to have an adrenaline buzz. And Hermiad's like, I don't have an adrenal gland. And I still wouldn't be impressed even if I did. Rodney's like, fine, all right, we ready then? And Hermiad's like, I've been ready. Rodney radios over to the Wraith ship to let them know that they are ready and they would like to start beaming innocuous canisters onto the Wraith ship while they're being actively jammed to see if they can get through the jamming and get something over there. They tell him he's good to go, so he says thank you and then tells Hermiad that was weird, and they're good to go.
They are. For some reason, Michael is hanging out in an isolation room, I guess just wanting to relive old times or something.
Yeah.
Taylor and Ronan come in to see him for reasons?
Yeah, not really sure.
No, it's weird. Michael tells Taylor the last time that he saw her, he really was going to feed on her, but nothing personal. It was just instinct. And Taylor's like, great. Is that why you're here? Just to tell me that? But no, he says that being a human for a while has given him a very rare perspective, making him unique among the Wraith, and that few of them have ever really come to know humans. They've just fed on them without ever actually learning anything about them. Still, he was going to do what he had to do, because even though he understands their perspective a little bit better, he's still got to eat in order to survive. But also, at the same time, Michael is still holding on to the fact that he feels used and mistreated because he thought that they were all trying to help him, and clearly it wasn't. So he's trying to point out the fact that both Wraith and humans have done terrible things and are not quite as different as the humans like to think that they are. Of course, Taylor is incensed by that and says that they're nothing like the Wraith are. But Michael's like, well, you can keep telling yourself that, but doesn't make it true, essentially. And that was that conversation. It was a weird and not very interesting scene.
Yeah.
Taylor goes to leave, and Ronan actually stays behind and for whatever reason pulls his blaster on Michael and points it at his head. And Michael's like, see? Instincts. Yeah? Told you. But then Ronan does leave without shooting him.
Yeah, he does. Good job reining that in, Ronan.
Yeah.
In Weir's office, Weir and Shepard are with the Wraith lady talking about what their plans are for this virus. Weir asks what happens once you disseminate the weapon. The Wraith lady's just like, yep, we're going to just move on to the next time after that, and after that, until all of our enemies are dead. By us eating them because they became human. She assures them that their people will not be harmed because that's part of their arrangement. But Weir wants to know about the other humans out in the galaxy. Maybe stop feeding on them too? And I wish they'd given her a name. I just keep calling her Wraith Lady.
My transcript here just keeps calling her Hive Queen. It is weird that none of them ever get names. I was actually just thinking that.
Besides the ones that shepherd names.
Right, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And that's when I was wondering, like, what are their names? Are they just, like, completely unpronounceable in English language? Like, is her actual name something like...
You should be having this conversation with Dr. Beckett.
Yes. Or do they not like to admit the fact that they've just got really boring names? Like, I don't know, maybe her name is Jane. I'm sorry if any of you are named Jane, but I mean, that's the plainest name I could think of.
Yeah.
I mean,
Bob.
I would have used my own Mary. Probably her name is Mary, because that is a very boring name.
Oh, stop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bob.
Bob.
Maybe they're all called Bob.
Maybe. They're all Bobs, yes.
They are all Bobs. Although I'm reading a book that is part of the Bobiverse series, where everybody is a clone of Bob, and they all give themselves their own names. So they're not actually all Bob.
Ah. No, these aren't Bobs.
No.
Then. Okay. The Wraith Lady tells Weir that eventually they're gonna run out of enemies, and they'll go back to feeding on humans, surely. And really, that's just about restoring balance. Because they weren't all supposed to wake up at once and want to feed.
Back in the lab with Dr. Beckett, he is arguing with the Wraith about how best to disseminate the virus still. So even though Beckett is convinced that aerosol is the only way to go, apparently the Wraith doesn't agree for reasons, even though it's not the Wraith's technology. So I didn't really understand why the Wraith was so adamant that Beckett was wrong. But Beckett says he'll at least take some of the Wraith's ideas into consideration. We don't get to find out what any of those ideas actually were, though. And it doesn't really matter because, as Beckett points out, he's been working on this for a really long time. So he knows much more about it than the Wraith do, who are just there now and trying to catch up. Zelenka wants to know if they would be able to smuggle any kind of a gas bomb onto one of the rival hives. The Wraith don't think that there would be enough time for it to go off and spread throughout the entire ship without being detected.
What if they built a large wooden badger?
They could try building a large wooden badger, yes, and then wait until nighttime.
Yeah.
Yeah, Lancelot, Galahad, and I. Anyway.
Who leaps out?
Zelenka does mention trying to get it into the life support system. I was kind of surprised that they only were just now thinking about trying to get it into the life support system. That seemed weird. They don't know how long it's going to take for the gas to go into effect, so that's going to be the next thing they got to do. Figure out how long that's going to take. And so they do. We see some guinea pig strapped to a table, and they have filled the room with the aerosolized version of the virus. And it does happen pretty quickly. I don't know that we necessarily get a full counter on it, but it seems to be a quick transformation from full Wraith to...
Lord of the Rings elf?
I was about to say, a guy that looks like he just came out of Riverdale, yeah. Or Rivendell. Yeah. He did look like a beautiful elf.
He did.
Yeah. And so everyone's like, great, now we can just leave him alone and he'll revert. But no, the Hive Queen needed to make sure that he would be edible, so she went and fed on him.
Delicious.
Yeah.
And apparently Dr. Weir was expecting this. She said something about everyone agreeing to this, even though Beckett was protesting while this was happening. So I thought that was weird.
Yeah.
Yeah. But then she turns around and confirms, yep, it works. She feels great.
Great.
And of course, that guy's now dead.
Yes. You were only beautiful for a moment.
So fleeting beauty.
Yes, indeed. After this, they are back gathering with the Wraith Queen to talk about their next step. She's got an idea. She says there's another hive ship nearby that attacked them recently, so they're going to test out the gas on them first. Dr. Beckett doesn't think that they are ready, but she says, no, sounds like you succeeded. And Beckett's like, no, we just did that one wraith. That's one wraith. That's not a ship. And she's like, well, we're going to pretend that we're going to surrender, go over there, we're going to bring a bunch of canisters with us, sneak away, set them all off throughout the ship. This is a terrible plan.
It is, yes.
It was already a plan they dismissed, basically. Wasn't she like, they'll detect anything we bring over? Like,
right, yeah, that was like one of the first things that she said.
Yeah. But for some reason, she's decided this terrible plan is now a good plan, the plan they're going to go with. Rodney's like, okay, yeah, we can do that. Do we have enough gas? Beckett says, yeah, we've been churning it out. Dr. Weir says she would like some of their people to go along and observe. Shepard says to make sure you stick to the plan and do what you say you're going to do. The Wraith lady is like, sure, all right. So they're going to go do that. It's a great plan. It's no notes. Again, just perfect plan.
Yep. What could possibly go wrong?
Nothing. Also, are all those people who are going over there to disseminate the gas just suicide humaning?
That's what I was wondering, what their plan was with that, because you would think that they would get transformed too.
Yeah, unless they have some sort of timing mechanism.
Yeah, I don't know. I was wondering about that, because if they are turning into a human, they would revert eventually, but then the other wraith would revert at the same time. So it's not like they could eat the people while they were in their human form. They'd have to keep redosing them. So it really didn't make any sense.
This isn't a good plan
No, it's
at
a very
all.
bad plan. Yeah.
Like, this whole thing seems bad unless you're planning to sustain people as people forever until you're done with them.
Yeah, you're going to have to keep redosing them because they specifically said that even with this aerosolized version, the reversion would begin in a few hours.
Yeah.
So you would basically need to convert them and then eat them all right away. So if you yourself are turned into a human in this process, then it doesn't get you anywhere.
No. Weird.
It was very weird.
Yeah.
Anyway, next we are out in space. The Daedalus exits hyperspace. They are near that wraith ship that the Queen was mentioning, but cloaked and kind of out of sensor range of it. So they're just trying to watch, I guess, and monitor the situation. Caldwell thinks that this whole thing is a little bit premature as well, as everyone has already established. But Shepard says that's what happens when you get the wraith too excited. And they're just going to hope that if things don't go well, that the two wraith ships will just blow each other up and then they can all go home and that'll be great. Back in Dr. Weir's office, Dr. Beckett comes in and he has some concerns. While he developed the retrovirus to use on the wraith, it was because he was trying to rescue them from what he calls a perceived unnatural state. It was supposedly evolution. How is that an unnatural state? But that's what he says.
Beckett has some weird ideas sometimes.
Beckett does have some weird ideas sometimes, yes. So he was using that to rationalize it, but now that he knows that the virus is just going to be used to turn people into humans only so that they can then face a really horrible death as humans, he's not okay with this anymore. Dr. Weir was surprisingly terrible in this scene. She said, well, I guess it depends on how you define humans.
Yeah.
And he looked a little bit appalled by that, and I was a bit surprised. He said that we can't judge the entire race by the fact that Michael's experiment didn't work. And she said, well, I'm not losing any sleep over this because you gave me sedatives. And that's that scene. It was very callous of her.
Okay, Dr. Weir.
Yeah.
Yes.
Meanwhile, Dr. Beckett just continued to look really upset.
Yeah.
And she just didn't care.
Yeah. On the Daedalus, their cloaked jumper has made it into position and is ready to send back images of what's going on between the two wraith ships. So we get a little display of a dot moving from one wraith ship to another. Oh, they're there. Okay, they're getting on the ship. Cool. Back on Atlantis, Hermione is actually on Atlantis. He stayed behind. Rodney's like, they didn't need you on the Daedalus? And Hermione's like, no, they're fine. Caldwell thinks that I should work with you, disabling these jamming codes. Rodney's like, oh, so they can fly the ship without you. Ha ha. And Hermione's like, but you can't run these tests without me. I love the snark. I love the snarky alien.
It was silly.
Yeah. And then a moment later, they try some experiment and they were able to get through the jamming. So good job, guys.
Yeah.
Hermione just tells Rodney his assistance on this project will be noted. I just enjoy it so much.
Back on the Daedalus, Kleinman mentions the fact that the delegation's transport is returning ahead of schedule even. Is that good? Is that bad? Hard to tell until the transport disappears and has been destroyed. So I guess that's bad.
That's bad.
Yep. They've got a jumper out there that was also surveilling the situation, so they call that jumper back in. And the hive ships start firing on each other, so that's bad. They want to get out of here before they get drawn into that battle. And they also want to make sure that the wraith ship that they are working with gets out of there before it gets boarded because they don't want the other Hive ship knowing about what they're working on or that Atlantis is still a thing. So they fly in on the Daedalus and provide some cover fire rather than letting the two ships blow each other up. And that allows the ship that they've been working with to get away. And then they also manage to get away.
Yeah. They didn't take out the other ship, so...
They did not. They just fled.
That other ship is just free-flown out there with some weird knowledge about humans working with wraith.
Yep.
In some capacity.
Right? Yeah, I was thinking about that as they're firing on them. They're like, I was thinking how bizarre that was going to look to the other wraith ship.
Yeah. Then we see Wraith Lady reporting over video to Atlantis that their delegation was searched. No shit. And they were killed immediately when the canisters were discovered. No shit.
Shocking.
So shocking. Their transporter tried to escape, but it was also fired upon, and she tells Weir they need to devise a better method, or they'll disclose the location of Atlantis to the other Wraith. And Weir is like, we gave you a retrovirus. How is this our fault? Shepard's like, we have to do everything?
A valid question.
Yes. Shepard is also in this same mindset. Then they all turn and look at Rodney. And he's like, fine, I'll figure it out. But I need everything from you. All information you could possibly give me about Wraith Hive ships, you need to send it to me right now. And she's like, okay. And they're like, wait, what? Really? So they send it immediately over. Chuck Nishan is receiving transmission. Rodney rushes over to the station and pushes him in his chair out of the way, and he rolls off screen, which is very funny.
It was.
Yep. Rodney assures Weir they are completely firewalled, so everything's secure. And he's like, oh my god, we got everything. It's the mother lode. Weir then turns back to the video screen to ask the Wraith Lady why she's doing this, and she offers that they have suffered extensive damage, which Weir then says, maybe we can help you out with that. We're kind of allies now, right? So you sent us a bunch of information that was a huge act of good faith, so let's be closer friends. And the Wraith Lady's like, okay, cool.
Totally trustworthy. I bet nothing could go wrong.
Nothing's gonna go wrong.
Yeah.
Through the rest of the series, it's Wraith Queen and Weir, BFFs.
Yep. Absolutely. Shepard goes to see Zelenka down in the lab. He's got some coffee for him, which is nice.
Except he doesn't get any.
Oh, yeah, he doesn't. He just, where did he put it? He just put it down on the table.
Shepard put it down, and then someone swooped in and took one, and then Shepard took the last one.
Oh. I didn't even notice that. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, he's got coffee. That's nice.
He gave some of the scientists coffee.
Yeah.
Just
But not for Zelenka, apparently. Shepard wants to know how things are going here. Zelenka says that it's like being handed a Wraith encyclopedia, and he doesn't even know where to start. Shepard says that he started with the letter S, which was supposed to be a sexual innuendo, apparently. But Zelenka's like, yeah, well, whatever. I've got more important things to do than looking up with that. So that team over there is looking at this thing. That team over there is working on that. And he's got a bunch of people working on a bunch of different things. Meanwhile, he's just trying to skim the index and see if they can figure out anything especially important in there. He has figured out that the ships are massive, mostly because of their organic design, and so they've got a bunch of external weaknesses as a result of basically just being a bit too big to be able to protect everywhere on the outside. And Zelenka asks Shepard if he's heard anything from Rodney yet, but he hasn't.
Nope. And Rodney's hanging out on the Hive ship with Ronan. He's talking to I think it's the same Wraith scientist that was talking to Beckett and Zelenka earlier.
I think so.
Yeah. He's very impressed with this Wraith technology and their organic base. And he's like, yeah, most of our problems just heal themselves. But we do have smaller, more complex issues. So they talk about those. He says it's been too long since they've had to fight a real battle, which is why they've not been able to improve their systems. He said before this civil war, there were keepers who maintained the entire fleet, but now those keepers have even made their own alliances in this war. The Wraiths asks if Rodney thinks they'll be able to come up with an adequate delivery system for the retrovirus, And Rodney starts to puff himself up to give an answer about how smart he is. And Ronan's like, the short answer is yes. Just cuts him off. The wraith starts to lead them elsewhere on the ship. He puts his hand on Rodney's shoulder and Ronan immediately pulls out his knife. One of his knives. I shouldn't say his knife. He probably has like 10 knives on him right now.
Probably. At least.
Yeah. And is holding it to the wraith's throat. And Rodney's like, what are you doing? We're in a ship full of wraith. Do you want to get us killed? And Ronan yells at the wraith not to touch Rodney.
No touching.
Rodney keeps trying to get Ronan to stop holding a knife to him. And the wraith says, don't worry, I understand. He's just protecting his superior. And Ronan lowers his knife and he's like, he's not my superior. So that crisis averted. They move on to wherever they're going in this ship next.
And then we're back on Atlantis. Rodney and Shepard are there with Dr. Weir talking to the Hive Queen. They're looking at some schematics of a hive ship. And apparently Rodney has figured out the best part of the life support system to release the retrovirus in. And I guess that's what they're going to do. They need to try to figure out a way to test the theory first, ideally, before actually going on to just a random enemy hive ship and hoping for the best, as they seem to have done in the last situation. They have a 4-point plan outlined. They're going to find another ship that is within range, and the Daedalus is going to come nearby, just like before. They're going to have the Wraith ship approach the other Wraith ship for whatever reason, and then the Daedalus is going to try beaming the technology aboard themselves as they're hidden in the scanning pattern of the first Wraith ship, I guess, was the plan. It didn't sound like a great plan either, but that's what they're going to go with. They say that if they can basically hide behind the Wraith ship they're working with, then they'll essentially just be able to beam the virus exactly into that spot in the life support system on the other Wraith ship, and then they will be able to trigger it from there. The Hive Queen hates this plan. She does not like the Atlantis people being in charge of disseminating the virus. She wants to do it herself, or at least have her wraith be responsible for it. But Shepard says it's just a test. And then after that, we'll figure out some other way for you to do it. But this is what we got for now. Unless you have a better idea, which you don't seem to be coming up with any better ideas. So let's go with this one. And the Queen does agree. She will transmit the coordinates of a new target as soon as she gets back to her hive.
I did like when Rodney and Shepard finish explaining their plan, they both stop and put their hands on their hips in this very self-satisfied smug look on their face.
It's true. They did look delighted with themselves.
Deflates it.
Yep. As Shepard and Rodney continue talking after she's left, Rodney wants to be on the hive when they do that, which, as Rodney mentions about himself, he's been uncharacteristically brave lately, but he's hacked a lot of their systems under the guise of repairing them, and so he's pretty convinced that he should be on the Wraith ship, the one that they're coordinating with, to supervise their systems if anything goes wrong with this whole plan. Dr. Weir is there too and asks if they agreed to this, and Rodney's like, yes, and also now we can freely beam stuff on and off their ship. He's written a program that will immediately beam him out of there if anything at all goes wrong. So it's great. Nothing can possibly go wrong then, right? They agree to this as long as Ronan can go with him. So great. Rodney and Ronan are going to go and beam aboard the Wraith ship to monitor the other Wraith ship getting destroyed. Or at least having the virus disseminated on it. Meanwhile, Dr. Weir is going to put Shepard on the Daedalus so that he can also be nearby, keeping an eye on things.
Yep. More good plans are happening.
Yep. Great plans.
Yeah. At some point later, Zelenka and his scientist team are still working. The screens they're all working on start flickering. And Zelenka's like, what's going on, guys? Does anybody else have it? Oh, and then all of the screens go dark. That's bad.
That's very bad.
Someone comes up and tells him he needs to see something and shows him a tablet, and he's like, uh-oh, I hope the Daedalus hasn't left yet. But they have. They are en route in space. Shepard is talking to Caldwell about how difficult their maneuvers they're going to have to do to be hidden within the Wraith ship or near it to execute this plan are going to be.
The hive ships are so much bigger than the Daedalus. I wouldn't think it would actually be that difficult to hide.
I don't think it's the hiding. I guess it's just how close they have to be to not be detected.
I guess, while still being close enough to beam stuff aboard.
Yeah. Then they exit hyperspace. Caldwell starts to order them to radio McKay when suddenly they're hit by fire, weapons fire. Oh my god, the second they dropped out of hyperspace.
Curse your sudden but inevitable betrayal.
Something's wrong. They put up their shields, try to seal off the decks that got hit, and it looks like both hive ships, one of them being their new friends, are firing on them.
Great.
Cool. So Caldwell orders them to fire back and to get the warheads ready to beam to the nearest hive ship. Shepard's like, why are they breaking this alliance now? It doesn't make sense. They don't even have all the gas yet. Caldwell's like, I don't care. Not my problem right now. They prepare the warheads, but Shepard's like, give Ronan and Rodney time to get back. And Caldwell's like, they have just enough time until we're in weapons range to get back here. Otherwise, too bad. There's nothing else we can do. And the fight continues.
Indeed. Over on the Wraith ship, the Daedalus starts firing at the Wraith ship. Rodney, of course, notices that, as does Ronan. They try to activate the emergency transceiver that was supposed to essentially beam him off the second that anything went wrong, but that doesn't work. And then there's a Wraith there. And they are captured. It went bad so fast.
So
Rodney
fast.
asks what they're doing, and the Wraith says, sorry, but there's been a change in plans. Back on the Daedalus is continuing to get fired upon. Shepard asks for a few more seconds, but they really don't have it. However, doesn't really matter anyway, because they cannot, in fact, beam a weapon aboard. The codes that were given to Rodney so that he could figure out how to get past their jamming signal and beam stuff onto the ship, shocker, that isn't working. So they're just getting fired on, and they have no way to fight back, really, besides the meager weapons that they have on the ship. They cannot, in fact, beam the bomb aboard as they had thought.
Oh dear.
Yeah. So Shepard's going to go and take some F-302s out and try to fire on them from out there.
And that's what happens.
Yep.
Next we see some ships flying out of the Daedalus. They're aiming for the hyperdrive. They join the firefight because there are also Wraith darts flying around too. On the Wraith ship, Ronan and Rodney have been escorted to one of those weird walls of humans. I don't know how to describe it. You know, we've seen it in Wraith ships where humans are just stuck in the walls.
Yeah.
By Wraith stuff.
Yeah, I don't know what you could call it that would be better than that, as weird as that is to call it. It's what it is.
Yeah. Rodney is still objecting that they're supposed to be allies, but the Wraith is like, nope, alliance dissolved. Rodney's upset about how much work he's put into this and that he hasn't slept in 36 hours. So the Wraith shoots him with a stunner so he can go to sleep.
Yeah.
That's probably not why. He probably just wants to shut him up, but,
Yes.
you know, it's fine.
36 hours is way too long to be awake.
Yeah. this
Your
is a
brain
very
can't
long
function
time.
properly.
Mine can't function properly when I've been up 6 hours.
Meanwhile, back aboard the Daedalus, their ships are down to 20%, so that's bad. And Hermiad can't guarantee that they're going to be able to beat the Wraith in time. So really, they just need to get out of there.
Yep.
They recall the 302s, so Shepard and his team head back. They can't shut down the hyperdrive on the ship, and it seems to be getting ready to take off. As they're talking about this, Shepard has a couple darts coming up from behind him. So that seems bad. They seem to be getting ready to fire on him, although we don't really know what happens because that's the last we see of Shepard. All of a sudden, they've lost radio contact with him.
Oh, dear.
Yep, Kleinman's not getting anything, so Caldwell decides that they're just going to get the hell out of there, so they prepare to jump to hyperspace. But meanwhile, the Hives are also jumping to hyperspace. Caldwell is not sure why they would do that.
I was also confused,
Yeah,
but
well, we do find out in a minute
True.
the reasoning for that. So they jump to hyperspace. They do get 3 of the 302s back, but one of them is not Shepard's. So that was a weird way to say it. The one that's missing is Shepard's. There is a little bit of wreckage out there, but there's no locator beacon, which they seem to think should be there. If Shepard's ship had been blown up, his locator beacon should still be out there, so he's just gone.
Gee, I wonder where he's gone.
Unknowable.
Yeah.
So the Wraith Hives are gone along with Rodney and Ronan and Shepard.
Yep. Back on Atlantis, Zelenka is reporting to Weir what happened. They got hacked. There was a worm-like computer virus in the Hive ship schematics they were sent. Weir is like, you went over it though. And he said, yep, we thought it was clean, but this was a different kind of virus that selectively probed their systems without exposing itself or damaging them.
Why didn't they just keep all of the Wraith data behind a firewall?
I thought that's what they were going to do.
Apparently, when they decided it was clean, they decided to not bother, but that was obviously a bad choice.
Yeah. Zelenka says after the Hive ship left Atlantis, then the worm virus started destroying all the data that had been sent down to Atlantis from the Hive ship.
I was going to ask, don't they have backups? But I imagine they don't have backups. And I guess maybe those backups would have also been destroyed if the virus was in the backups.
Possibly. The only 2 bits of data that were uploaded to the Wraith ship, he says, from this virus were the Aurora mission reports. Kind of weird, right? Mm-hmm. Oh, that's right. They had that secret about destroying the Wraith, right? That was the thing, right? But then the captain didn't really have that information anymore because he never actually read the communique.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know, however many episodes ago. Probably has something to do with that, right?
Yeah. And then the other piece of information was the location of every single world in Atlantis's database. And gee, which world might that include?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Welcome to Earth.
Then we're in hyperspace. Ronan is awake as Rodney wakes up, and he asks him if he's okay, but Rodney says, nope, this is the most not okay he's ever been. I don't know, Rodney's been in some pretty bad situations.
Yeah.
I would think when he was about to drown on that jumper a long time ago and the pilot had sacrificed himself for Rodney, I would think that was even less okay. There's at least a little bit of hope here.
I'm wondering if he's just the most not okay he's ever been every single time he's in peril.
Yeah, that does seem to be the case for him.
Little goldfish memory there.
Yes. The Wraith scientist guy is back to come and talk to them because he sees that Rodney is awake. Ronan asks why they're not dead, and it's apparently because the Queen wants them to live long enough to witness the fruits of their labor, because if it wasn't for Rodney helping them to fix their ship after they were damaged in the firefight, they never would have been able to get there. Rodney, of course, asks, get where? And the Wraith tell them, Earth.
End of episode.
End of episode. Yeah. I imagine that Rodney also helped them a bit in accessing their systems by taking down the firewall at some point or whatever.
Yeah.
Neat. Did you like the episode?
I did like the episode. I want to know where it's going, but I found it enjoyable overall. A lot of it was Rodney's interaction with Hermione and also with the Wraith scientist, to be honest. And then the Wraith scientist with Zelenka and Beckett was very fun. Obviously, I figured going into this, it wasn't going to go well for them. So at least I was expecting it. And while sometimes they enter into dumb arrangements that I'm like, you guys are literally the dumbest people I've ever seen. This one, I'm like, well, they kind of maybe didn't have a choice. So I'm going to be not going to knock them too much for being like, oh, shouldn't have trusted the Wraith, except for you shouldn't have taken down that firewall, guys.
Yeah. I bet Jeff would have things to say about that one.
It's an older code, sir, but it checks out.
Yeah. I look forward to hearing them one day. One day. Jeff should just record his own addendum to the podcast about firewalls.
I agree. You should feel free to go on a rant about it.
Get on that, Jeff.
No way.
He's in charge of network security at his job. I'm sure he'll have opinions.
Not this time.
I'm glad that the Michael thing is having repercussions, because they deserve repercussions for that.
Agree.
And I look forward to seeing Connor Trenier more in the future.
Yes.
Yeah.
Also agree.
How about you?
Yeah, I did think it was a pretty enjoyable episode, mostly for the same reasons that you said. There were a lot of interesting interactions. It was a pretty entertaining storyline, even though a lot of it was pretty predictable. I would say that probably the thing I was the most annoyed about was just the lack of Connor Trenier, because I definitely was expecting much more Connor Trenier than just his voice in like 2 scenes.
Yeah.
But I know we do get at least a little bit more of him in a few more episodes coming up. So,
Yeah.
yeah, good episode. I actually don't remember what happens next. I know for sure that Earth is not destroyed, but I don't remember how they resolve the situation. So I'll be interested to see the next episode.
Yeah, I'm also curious how the Wraith are planning to get to Earth, because don't they not have ships that can get there? Oh, but maybe they'll find out about the Orion. Oh.
Maybe? Yeah.
Can the Orion do? Anyway, we'll find out. But not next week.
No, not next week. Next week, we are going to be watching Stargate SG-1 Season 10.
Ooh.
Episode 01, Palindrome.
Palindrome.
It is called Flesh and Blood. According to TVDB, as the Ori invade the Jaffa planet Chulak, Vala and Daniel must deal with their leader, Vala's youngest daughter, rapidly aged by the Ori to serve their purposes.
Youngest?
Young?
Is that what you
No,
young.
Vala's young daughter.
Oh, I thought you said youngest. I was like, how many daughters does she have?
Maybe I did. I don't think so.
I'm
I
doing
might have.
fine.
I don't know.
Okay, so they're going straight for Chulak. That's not cool.
Yeah.
Bad Ori.
Meanwhile, over at the booklet, as their battle with the Ori continues, the team struggles to reunite and formulate a plan to defeat their enemy. Vala, still aboard an Ori ship, watches as her newly born child quickly ages and is molded to lead the Ori army.
Yeesh. Evil baby.
Indeed. Evil baby. Anything else?
I don't think so.
Thank you so much for listening to Stargazing with Kathy and Mary. Our fully listener-supported program couldn't be done without you. Show your support by telling everyone you know how awesome this show is. Find us at stargazing.space. Reach us by email, stargazing@gmail.com. Find us on social media at Blue Sky. Get some merch, tinyurl/stargazing. And finally, show your financial support at patreon.com/stargazing. Thank you for traveling through the gate with us. Catch you next time on Stargazing with Kathy and Mary.
I'm Mary,
I'm Kathy.
and you've been listening to Stargazing, the end.
The end. Oh, good. I hadn't even occurred to me that. I was just thinking it was all over you.
It was mostly all over me, but yeah, it missed the keyboard.